Welcome back to the Spoonie and Caregiver Life podcast with me, your host, Jordan Banderas. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And let's go ahead and get into today's episode, shall we? I want to start today's episode with, are you doing okay? And most importantly, how has the pandemic affected you? I want to ask this because these are the same questions that I have asked other spoonies and caregivers, and the answers they have given me are heartbreaking, literally. That's why I want to talk about this because, in my opinion, this is very important. Because what they have said to me is that they feel alone, sad, anxious, stressed, and some even feel angry about how life has been for the last year because it has changed a lot. And also because we have gone through one of the worst things that could have happened in the life of a chronically ill person and their caregiver. And we're still going through some of these things right now. Like, not a lot has changed for a lot of people. So please answer these questions as honest as possible while you listen along, because the answers might actually help you identify things that are irritating you, that are making you upset, and that are making you sad. Just like the people that I have talked to. And as the host of this show, I want to share my answers as well. I am doing fair. At the beginning, I didn't know how I was going to handle the pandemic at all, but I also have had good days and bad days. I mentioned this the other day that I actually had suicidal thoughts, so the good days and the bad days, they actually roll together. I can't really talk about why I started having those thoughts because right now is not the right time yet, but at one point I will talk about it so you guys understand why you have to deal with stress in different ways depending on the situation. But right now I can't. So if you're experiencing bad days, don't feel ashamed. Because if you feel ashamed, that can actually bring negative thoughts into your mind, and just like what happened to me, you can start having like suicidal thoughts. Now, one of the things is that, one of the good things as well about doing all of this or going through all of this is that I have been able to find ways to manage my stress, which is hard for a lot of us to do. Some things that have helped me are meditation, journaling, questioning my thoughts, and talking about my feelings. Because if you don't talk about your feelings, then you're pretty much holding it in. And if you hold it in, it literally builds up all that sadness, all that anger, all whatever you're feeling, it starts to build up. And at one point, unfortunately, everything is just gonna be overflowing, like with sadness and things. And believe me, I know how it feels. Another way that the pandemic has affected me was that I have been working from home, which a lot of us have had to do. And it can be quite lonely because you don't have that same human interaction, like the face to face, like the handshakes or the talking to your friends at work or anything like that, or even going out with your friends because, pretty much everything was closed. So you're missing that human connection. But I think that the most challenging part of all, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have had to deal with, is going to doctor's appointments or having to deal with telemedicine appointments, which in my opinion, it has helped in some ways, but it made it harder in other ways to talk to the doctors on a personal level, because you don't know if the doctors are paying attention or not, and you lose that human connection as well with them. And now, because before they were rushing you, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but in my wife's case, and even in my case, I will feel rushed. They will only see me for like 5, 10, 15 minutes max. Now, you just don't see them face to face. You don't know what they're looking at. You don't know if they're looking at something different, like, and sometimes they're still rushing you. Like, I've seen it with my wife where they're like, okay, 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 we'll try this, and then set another appointment for like 2 weeks, and it has only been like 5 minutes. So I'm like, are you really paying attention? Because you have to pay attention if you're a doctor, right? But with all of this that is happening, it's kind of hard to tell. And I also think that the most challenging part that we all have to deal with is with the stress of the isolation. That's the hardest part, because the lack of friendship, the lack of daily routines, just the lack in general of everything that you used to do can be very frustrating. If you might feel lost, you might feel like you don't know what to do, like there's so many different feelings that you might be going through. And that's why it's so important to talk about your feelings, because it might actually let you figure out exactly how you feel, like what you need to do to not feel a certain way. But also, one of the things that I had to think about with everything that's been happening is that, as my wife's caregiver, I didn't want her to get sick. That was the most stressful part. And unfortunately, and ultimately, she did get COVID, which was super stressful due to her autoimmune issues and compromised health. And if you unfortunately had COVID and dealt with all the symptoms, you will understand that it was harsh. Like, I saw it with her. It was like the hardest thing to watch in the situation. But one of the things that have helped us, me and my wife, deal with all the isolation and all the stress and everything pretty much, is communication. By communicating with each other, by being really, really open with each other, since we didn't feel like going out due to safety reasons, because of the virus. Unfortunately, she got it, which that's out of our control. But one thing that has helped me understand, I mean, one thing that has helped me understand this is that when you work as a team, you can actually get through anything, no matter what the challenge is. So I hope that you and your spouse, your partner, or your caregiver have been working as a team throughout all of this, because in the end, you will see that this pandemic actually has brought you closer together with your loved ones, families, and friends, and your caregiver as well, Even if your caregiver is not part of your family or not a friend, if they were able to give you the care that you need during all of this, I think that it will bring you closer. And that's pretty much what I have for you guys today. This is a quick one. I wanted to address this because of my personal experience with the suicidal thoughts. I know how hard it is, and I want you to understand one thing, that don't be ashamed of how you feel. Don't be ashamed of everything that you're going through. Just talk about it. Find the right person to talk about it, because if you hold it in, it gets heavy. And if you start having those kind of thoughts, suicidal, negative thoughts, write them down and obviously talk to somebody about it, because if you write them down, you might be able to see them from a different perspective and understand that maybe what you're saying to yourself is not right, and you might be able to change your perspective. And like I said, this has helped me as well. But like I said, that's pretty much it. And again, thank you for all your time. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for all your feedback. I really, really, really appreciate it. And if you want to follow us, don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you want to share your story, you can actually post it on Facebook, on our community. You can send it to me on instant message, or at the Spoonie and Caregiver Live at gmail.com, and you can do it anonymously. And um and don't forget to share, like, subscribe. That way we can also grow. We're growing. We're getting more people to listen to the podcast, to view the podcast, and to join the community. So thank you. This is all thanks to you guys, and I really, really appreciate it. So let's keep growing the community. That way people that are suffering right now understand that there's people that can actually listen to them and can relate to them, especially during these hard times. And I'll leave you like always. Always take care of yourself and have a great day.